What's up? It's Tom here to talk about Minnesota's true baseball team, the St. Paul Saints. Let's get right into it. In case you missed it, a couple guys moving up for this final week. This is pretty fun. Cory Lewis and Marco Raya moving up from Wichita to St. Paul for the final week of the season. Nice opportunity for those guys to get their feet wet and just get acclimated to St. Paul. We will be taking a look at Cory Lewis's start from this evening in just a moment. And Marco Raya actually does make a cameo appearance here as well. So kicking things off, though, with Kody Funderburk working his way back up to the Twins. They really could use a lefty. This was on Tuesday. Funderburk threw 2 shutout innings, only gave up 1 hit through 34 pitches. So he's working his way back. And then yesterday, Andrew Morris had a really nice start to cap off his season. 5 innings pitched, 3 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. The key thing with him, and we'll take a look at the numbers in just a moment, was he had a couple starts in which his velo was dropping, and that did not happen in this outing. Some heady defense by him and the Saints infield all together here. These were in back-to-back innings. You see they turn a double play here on a pickoff, and then the very next inning, Morris once again makes a nice play, running the runner back a bit. He's also involved here as well, running the batter and getting rid of it. So great heads-up defense by the entire infield, but Morris is very much involved in those. This is a guy who's just very intense and very locked in. Love watching him pitch. One of the guys I enjoyed the most, Andrew Morris, and it was really nice to see him end the season on a high note, getting all the way up to AAA. He started the year in Cedar Rapids. So, a nice ending. And then, kind of to cap off a great defensive evening for him, he also, the final out he records is on a comebacker. So, and again, on that velo, you can see kind of that red bar for the 4-seam fastball is probably what they were mostly looking at. There was a dip there, but he ended up topping out at 97 miles per hour in this outing for the Saints. So Andrew Morris finishing strong in his year. Cory Lewis moving up to St. Paul for the first time, throwing a knuckleball during warm-ups. And I'm not sure what catcher Pat Winkle did or said, but he got a good laugh and a thumbs up out of Lewis, who's usually super serious. Almost looks bored most of the time on the mound. Very unemotional guy, but sometimes that works out, and it worked out here. Gave up a couple singles, but then Diego A. Castillo turns a double play to help him out, and then he gets the next batter on a flyout. So kind of looked like he was going to run into trouble early, but worked his way out of it. And that was kind of the story of Lewis's start. Did miss some bats and got some really awkward-looking swings. This one, we'll take another look at this swing. A lot of times the batters can tell you all you need to know. That was super awkward. But Lewis goes 5, gives up 2 runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts in his AAA debut. Here's a look at the Baseball Savant numbers. Keep in mind that sometimes these will be edited, especially for a guy's first outing, but these are fairly in line with what I would have expected to see out of him. And, kind of a call-out is he doesn't have the biggest velo. And in this one, he walked 3 guys. He had a 58.8 strike percentage, I think. But this was a great at-bat. He was down 3-0. Battles back and gets him. I thought that was the most impressive individual plate appearance of his outing. And then DaShawn Keirsey Jr. helped him out here in the top of the 5th inning. This run scores, but Keirsey throws the guy out at third. A good decision there. It's a shorter throw than going home, so got him an out there. Payton Eeles, who's just been amazing. He's got a 900 OPS with the Saints now. It's an opposite field home run. And you can definitely call this guy short. He's 5'5", but I don't think you can call this guy small. Because look at these quads on this. This dude's like a little bowling ball. Again, not tall, 5'5", but he is well put together. He's obviously worked incredibly hard. So that was a great swing. Chris Williams, the St. Paul Saints Harmon Killebrew Award winner for community service, hits a home run. And speaking of Williams, he's currently the Saints' record holder for a single season home runs with 21. Yunior Severino, though, tied that tonight. He's kind of slowed down the last couple months, unfortunately. Looks like he was going to breeze past that, but Yunior now tied with, again, that was his 21st home run, so Saints hitting the ball to the park a little bit in this one as well. And there's that Marco Raya cameo I teased. Him, and he was yucking it up in there with Yunior Severino, having a good time. So good to see that. Here are the starting pitching performances from this week so far for the Saints from Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We talked about Morris and Lewis. There are their full lines in case you missed them. Moving on over to the hitting side. Again, Payton Eeles, man. The marquee guy on 2 of these. He also stole a couple bases tonight. He now has Throughout all of his year with the Twins org after signing out of Indie Ball, he has 37 stolen bases in 108 games, in addition to all the other stuff he's doing. He's just been such a fun player. And, all right, fine. Fine, if you're going to twist my arm, if you're going to, we'll talk about the Minnesota Twins. We'll talk about the big club a little bit. All right, fine. Okay, the Twins lose 3 out of 4 at Cleveland, all 3 of them in painful ways, right? I'm not getting away from that. Things are bad. Things have been going bad. If you're a Twins fan, things have been really trending in the wrong direction. If we're looking for silver linings, I'm not saying you need to, again, because I'm not in that mode myself. But if we really want to kind of go that route, the run differential was even in this series. So it's not like the Twins went into Cleveland, the team that wrapped up the division, and they gave them a fight. They were in every game. They could have swept. Obviously, what is this? They saying close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. So, it's a 1-3 road series. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. But the Twins were competitive at Cleveland on the road. And I think probably coming into this series, if you would have asked, Twins and Guardians fans, what do you expect out of this series? It probably would have been, well, Cleveland takes 3 out of 4. The Twins need to get past this, and we've been saying the same kind of stuff for weeks now, but they need to put this in their rearview mirror. They need to move forward. They need to come out of this feeling that way. If I'm Rocco Baldelli or whoever, that's the message that I'm sending. Isn't like, oh boy, we really let these slip away. It's like, see, look, we can do this. We were in these games. We gave this team that is winning our division everything they could handle. The Guardians took the lead in the 8th inning on Monday, and then they win in extras on both Wednesday and today. So it's not as if the Guardians completely mopped the floor with the Twins in Cleveland once again. But when it all boils down to it, the only thing that matters is that you only won 1 out of 4 games. But it is something that the Twins can hold on to internally. Yeah, but looking at the bullpen, that was definitely the part that hurt and the part where Cleveland really soared. You can see there's a breakdown of each game, and the game they won, it was great. And the 2 losses, I'm doing runs instead of earned runs because in extra innings, when you have that bonus runner and that runner scores, it's not an earned run, so I decided to throw runs in there. Twins bullpen pitched 13 innings and gave up 7 runs. Cleveland's bullpen actually pitched more, 19 1/3 innings, much more, and gave up 4 runs. And there's just like kind of multiple levels of frustration. The Twins didn't really hit well with runners in scoring position, though they've been worse. Certainly, they did a slightly below league average with runners in scoring position in this series. They've been worse. So yeah, the Twins, at the end of the day, this is what it is. And, they've been struggling for a long time. So really, until you're winning ball games, the context, that you were that competitive with Cleveland in Cleveland, that should feel pretty good, especially with what we've been dealing with. But since it's been such a long streak of subpar baseball, it just doesn't feel like things can turn around at this point. I'm not saying they can't, because Major League Baseball is really weird, and these are talented players, and things can just click sometimes. But technically, the Twins have the tiebreaker over Detroit, so if things ended today, the Twins would be in and the Tigers would not be. But Tigers are playing as bad as the Twins have been. That's as good as the Tigers have been, and it's been a while now. So, credit to Cleveland for taking 3 out of 4 against the Twins. They prevailed in those games. As much as they let the Twins in those games, stay in those games and be competitive, at the end of the day, they got the job done. Credit to Detroit for staying with it and not giving up on their season and continuing to compete. That can be a difficult thing. Such a long season. There were points too in the standings where it just looked like they were hopeless. And of course, you just keep chipping away and keep grinding, and stuff like this can happen. there's kind of two. I've promised myself I wouldn't do this, but we're going to talk more about the Twins than I wanted to. I was perfectly happy just doing a video on the Saints tonight, but we're throwing that out the window. There's two things that really frustrate me about the state of the Twins right now. The one is, and there's been people deflecting the bullpen outrage because that is amplified because the Twins aren't scoring as much as we would hope they would, and that's absolutely the truth. But when your bullpen when you're losing games late, of course you can't expect them to be perfect and never give up runs. But I think it's really hard to digest when bullpens are losing games because it's the cheapest thing to fix. We'll put it that way. You can, both in free agent money and at the trade deadline, bullpen arms are the easiest thing to acquire. You're never giving up like a top prospect for bullpen upgrades. You're never paying top dollar for bullpen. There's a handful of relievers that make real Major League Baseball money, and most of the rest of them are really affordable. It really hurts when that feels like it's a big part of your team that's letting you down, because it feels like the easiest problem to solve. Now, I say that knowing well that there have been a lot of really good baseball teams and teams with big payrolls across the league that have been sunk by bad bullpens. So it's not, it is the easiest area to acquire players in. Doesn't always mean it's the easiest, element of your team to build. Relievers are fairly unpredictable, but it's still frustrating to me. And I realize there's been a lot of injuries there. Things would be a lot different if Brock Stewart were healthy. Things would be a lot different if Justin Topa were healthy. And then the second item of frustration that comes in on this is it feels like the American League is kind of right there, and talking about this series with Cleveland, who won the AL Central, they clinched it up today. The Twins were with them, even though the Twins are in this low point. They still were competitive with Cleveland in all 4 games. They could have swept Cleveland at Cleveland. It was right there. We're seeing the Orioles sitting on top of this AL wildcard picture. The Orioles are falling apart. If you look back on previous years, if you look to the National League, if you look to, in general, I think that this pathway through the American League feels more realistic to me, feels more attainable to me to get through than most seasons. Again, it feels like kind of ridiculous as a Twins fan to be kind of throwing any kind of shade at any other team right now, as poorly as they played. At the end of the day, you are your record. Like, there's no hiding from your record. The season is so long, and yes, your team definitely evolves and changes a ton over the course of that long season, but at the end of the day, your record is who you are, and I feel very comfortable with whatever that number is, so that you have nothing to hide from, essentially. And if the Twins don't make the playoffs, it's going to be dissatisfying, but at the same time, we're all going to sit here and say, yeah, this wasn't a playoff team. They didn't deserve to be in the playoffs. So hopefully it doesn't get to that. Hopefully they get it back in gear. But even if we're being honest with ourselves, the Tigers deserve it more at the moment. The Twins need to snap out of it. We've been saying this for weeks now, so maybe there is no snapping out of it. Maybe it is what we're looking at. But this is different than a lot of what we've seen from the Twins this season. But again, at the end of the day, big long season, you are who you are. So, thanks for checking this one out again. Appreciate the Minnesota's team, the St. Paul Saints, still being active right now to distract me from the current state of the Minnesota Twins. This is the last weekend of Saints baseball coming up here, and they're in town. So go, if you can, if you're not busy, go to CHS Field, get one last Saints game in. They got some fun promotions going on too. So anyway, thanks for checking this one out. Thanks for enduring the rant. We'll talk again soon.